Welcome to Medieval Uncovered, where we peel back the layers of the Middle Ages to reveal the truth behind the legends. I'm Dr. Eszter Varga, your guide through the shadows of history, and tonight we're diving into a story that will chill your soul. Imagine a monster, not a creature of myth, but a noblewoman cloaked in privilege, her beauty hiding a heart of unspeakable cruelty. Her name? Elizabeth Báthory, the so-called Blood Countess. Was she a sadistic killer who bathed in the blood of innocents, or a pawn in a web of political intrigue and exaggerated folklore? Here in my Budapest study, I've spent years unravelling Hungary's darkest tales, and this one is a mirror reflecting the dangers of unchecked power. Stick with me on Medieval Uncovered, because by the end, you'll see why Bathory's story still haunts us, and why history's forgotten voices deserve to be heard. Let's step into the shadows of 16th century Hungary, where beauty masked a nightmare. To understand Elizabeth Báthory, we need to know her world. Born in 1560, she was a daughter of Hungary's elite, a noble family with castles dotting the rugged hills of what's now Slovakia. This was a land caught between empires, Habsburgs to the west, Ottomans to the east. War was constant, superstition rife, and the peasantry lived at the mercy of lords like the Bathorys. Elizabeth's childhood was a paradox. She learned Latin and music, yet witnessed brutal punishments of servants. Her family's power was absolute, their wealth vast. At 15, she married Ferenc Nádasdy, a war hero known for his ferocity. They lived in Shakti's castle, a fortress of stone and secrets. Ferenc's military campaigns left Elizabeth alone, managing estates and hundreds of servants. Here, her obsession with beauty took root, fed by a culture that tied a woman's worth to her appearance. But why did this obsession turn deadly? As a historian, I see Elizabeth's story as a collision of personal flaws and systemic failures. Renaissance Europe was obsessed with youth. Nobles chased elixirs and occult rituals. Elizabeth, vain and temperamental, was a product of this world, but she twisted its beliefs into something monstrous. Let's explore how. This is how artists depicted Elizabeth, striking with porcelain skin. But by her 30s, she feared aging. A chilling story claims she struck a servant girl, noticed blood on her hand, and believed it smoothed her skin. True or not, this marks the start of her alleged crimes. Elizabeth targeted peasant girls, often 10 to 14 years old, promising them work. These girls from impoverished villages vanished into Shakti's castle. Historical records, fragmented but damning, describe torture, beatings, burnings, even freezing girls to death. Elizabeth's accomplices, like her nurse Ilona Jo, helped procure victims. The castle became a prison, its dungeons echoing with screams. As a historian, I question the blood-bathing myth. No primary source confirms she bathed in blood. It may be a later embellishment, rooted in folklore about blood's vitality. But her intent was clear. She saw these girls as tools to defy time. Psychologically, I'd argue she exhibited traits of sadistic personality disorder, amplified by her unchecked power. In a feudal system, nobles were rarely questioned. Elizabeth exploited this to horrific ends. Let me share a story pieced together from village records. Anna, a 12-year-old from a nearby hamlet, was sent to Shakti's in 1608, lured by promises of a dowry. Her mother, Catalin, waited for letters that never came. Months later, a neighbour whispered of screams from the castle. Catalin confronted a Bathory servant, only to be threatened with ruin. Her grief turned to rage, but fear silenced her. Another tale comes from a survivor, Zuzana, who escaped in 1610. Her testimony, recorded by clergy, describes being chained, watching friends die, and enduring burns. Zuzanna's scars, physical and emotional, never faded. These stories remind us Elizabeth's victims weren't numbers. They were daughters, sisters, dreams extinguished. Now consider a modern parallel. In the 1990s, a cult leader in Eastern Europe manipulated vulnerable women, promising salvation but delivering abuse. Like Elizabeth, he exploited trust and power. These patterns repeat. When authority goes unchecked, a lesson we'll return to. By 1610, the disappearances were undeniable. When Elizabeth targeted minor gentry girls, whispers reached György Thurzo, Hungary's palatine. On December 30th, 1610, Thurzo raided Csákties, finding bodies, survivors, and blood-stained tools. Elizabeth was arrested, her noble facade shattered. The trial was a compromise. Elizabeth, protected by her status, was never publicly tried. Instead, she was walled up in Csákties, dying in 1614. Her accomplices faced gruesome executions, burned or beheaded. Estimates of victims range from 30 to 650. The higher numbers likely exaggerated. As a historian, I lean toward dozens, still a staggering toll. Why no trial? The Bathory family's influence and fear of scandal shielded her. This infuriated villagers, who felt justice was denied. It's a stark reminder, power often trumps accountability. Elizabeth's story has been warped by time. By the 18th century, Gothic writers cast her as a vampire, amplifying the blood-bathing myth. Today, she's in novels, films, even video games. But this sensationalism risks forgetting her victims. Her legacy exposes feudal Hungary's flaws, a system where nobles exploited the powerless. It's also a psychological study, how vanity and paranoia can spiral into evil. As a historian, I see parallels in modern abuses of power, from corrupt leaders to manipulative influencers. Elizabeth's story warns us to question authority and amplify the voiceless. So what's the lesson? Elizabeth Báthory's story isn't just about a monster. It's about a world that enabled her. Unchecked power breeds cruelty, whether in a 16th century castle or today's boardrooms. We honour her victims by listening to the marginalised, holding the powerful accountable, and refusing to let history repeat. I'm Dr. Eszter Varga, and I hope this journey into Hungary's past has stirred you. Share your thoughts below. How should we remember Elizabeth Báthory? How do we honour her victims? Subscribe to Medieval Uncovered for more stories where history meets humanity, and let's keep this conversation alive.